Kevin.
How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Benjamin Lindsay here, managing editor at Backstage. Very lucky
Hi.
to be having you sitting with us today. Thanks for taking the time out of your day.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. How are you holding up? I know it's been a couple weeks now of social distancing and whatnot.
We passed the 21-day point on Saturday, which was a good feeling to realize that we'd actually gone 21 days.
Yeah.
Listen, I feel like we're expressing and feeling nothing but gratitude for the fact that I'm together with Kira, and my son is here with me. We have plenty of food, and we are not on the front lines of fighting this epidemic. And so yeah, I mean, gratitude is the word that comes to mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's things like this that, I mean, something like this is obviously unprecedented, but I imagine that you're feeling it too, that this is the time to hold your loved ones close and kind of just take it day to day, live in the moment, and be with the people you love.
Yeah, day to day is the thing. Maybe, more like minute to minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of
There are
weird
those
'cause,
updates. Yeah.
yeah, we've been talking. I know everyone's had these same conversations about whether or not the hours are going slow or the hours are going fast. And I guess for me the days are kind of creeping by a little bit. But then I turned around and said, okay, well, it's been 21 days, so it actually doesn't really. It feels like it's going pretty quickly.
Yeah, certainly. Now, you were pretty early on in the effort as well to get your voice out there with this social media campaign, #IStayHomeFor. Can you tell us a bit about that decision, just to kind of put yourself out there and try to spread the word of isolation and social distancing?
Well, I'm no scientist, but I respect them and the things that they say, and I don't dismiss the opinion of people that are way smarter than me just because I've deemed it fake news or something like that. I mean, it seemed pretty clear to me pretty early from what I was reading, and just seemed to make sense that if it's spreading from person to person and we limit the amount of people who are connected in a crowd, that's going to be the thing that it's not going to like. Hopefully we're going to find drugs that it doesn't like, and we're going to find a vaccine that it doesn't like. But for the time being, what we have is this thing of being able to be separate. It's really, really hard. Everyone is really challenged by it, and clearly our economy is certainly challenged by it and will be for a very long time. And like I said, there's a lot of people that don't have the luxury of being able to stay home. But for those of us that do, if you want to fight, that's your best swing,
Yeah.
And this 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, in my opinion, has really never been about me. It's always been about the connectivity of people and the hunger that people have to be connected to each other. And there's sort of two examples of this connectivity. One is, sadly, the virus and the way that the virus spreads, from somebody to somebody else to somebody else to somebody that or you've heard of or whatever. There's that kind of connectivity. But the flip side of that is the connectivity that we're all obviously hunger for. The way we are doing this kind of thing, calling our families, checking in with our third grade teacher, whatever it is. People have this very strong desire to remain connected to each other. I think that's become very, very evident as we've been forced to physically disconnect. So, because of that silly game, it seemed like I was a good person to kind of put this out there initially. And there were a lot of celebrities, some of which I kind of peripherally knew, not very well, but I kind of knew them. I'd seen them or whatever, and many that I didn't, who jumped on. And then I think in some ways, more importantly, across the globe, but people, non-celebrity people, I get to look at their fun hashtags and their touching kind of signs that they've been holding up, and it's been a really great thing. I mean, it's hard to call it great when you're in the middle of this pandemic, but
Sure.
it certainly it was something to do.
Yeah, I mean that really is the way to frame it too. That we are all connected, and you're staying home for the people that you care about, because you leaving the home could affect anyone around you. That's kind of the message that you're getting out there, and I think it's powerful stuff, to say the least. Now, also, while I have you, I'd love to pick your brain a bit on your Showtime series. While you have the time, I feel like this is a good time for everyone to be catching up on TV if they're all going to be stuck at home. So I know City on a Hill was picked up for season 2. How far into that production were you before everything kind of shut down?
We were in the second. We had finished the second episode. We're in the middle of our third episode,
Okay.
and yeah, I was really excited about. I mean, I'm still excited about the season, but I'm very excited about the season. I love where the writers are taking these characters. I also thought it was really kind of cool the way we've moved to a different neighborhood in Boston and have involved. There's been a whole new group of characters that came on board. So there was a lot of casting that had to be done for this season, which was really fun. And I directed the first episode, so that was a great kind of challenge that I really enjoyed. I like to say on City on a Hill, every day I go to work, they give me something great to play. And we know as actors, that's not always the case. Even if you're, number one on the call sheet, you can get into a show where, they're not all exciting days. There's days where you're either just kind of telling the story, pushing the ball down the field a little bit. But on City on a Hill, the character is so complex and has such a fun kind of voice, that it's always a gas to go in and play. And I also am really lucky to be working with a lot of great actors, Aldous Hodge and Jill Hennessy and Mark O'Brien and on and on and on. There's great folks in that show, and so it's a gas. Listen, I feel really super grateful to be working at all. I mean, I've been at this a really long time, and the fact that I still can get a part, and the fact that I can get a good part, or maybe a part that I haven't done anything quite like that before, which is this is a perfect character example of that. Is really I love it.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned that you've been at it for a while, of course, but we of course love seeing you up there here at Backstage, and all the audience joining us today. Before we wrap up, I'd love to run through our Backstage 5 questionnaire. It's kind of a interview cap rapid fire questionnaire series that we have here. So then we'll just run through that, maybe take some audience questions if there's time, and then call it a day. But just for starters, while we're talking about City on a Hill, what is this character, Jackie? How is he, and what have you learned about your acting and playing him?
Oh, well, I was in a process when I got the part where I had done a number of, all right, let me put it this way. When I first became an actor, I judged a part, how good a part was, by the amount of lines that I had. That's just kind of, even when you think about it, something's called an under 5. I'm just kind of moving because I'm trying to, you're breaking up a little. If you call it an under 5, it means that, you're not going to get paid as much. So, I used to say, well, the more I have to say, the better the part is. And then I went through this kind of period where I felt like it was really about doing more with less, and I was really interested in trying to kind of internalize things, and I did a number of roles that were very not meant a very few words, and that had its own challenges. That was great. And then right on the heels of it, I got this script, this pilot for City on a Hill, and I'm looking at it. It's like long speech after long speech after long speech. This guy just does not shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And so to jump back into that kind of a character, and to really embrace the verbosity of, if that's even a word, of this guy was really exciting. And there's a kind of almost a kind of like Shakespearean sort of feeling to the way that the language for this character is created. It's like Shakespeare with a lot of fucks, and
Yeah.
so I've really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, yeah. It definitely gives you a lot to play with. I believe he's described as a classic Boston asshole, which kind of fits him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now to take it all the way back, how did you first get your SAG-AFTRA card?
My very it was shameless nepotism, because even though I don't come from a theatrical family, I have a cousin on my mother's side who was a director,
Mm-hmm.
and she was doing a children's theater tour in West Springfield, Massachusetts, and it was just this. I guess if I picture it being warm, so I guess it was, it was summer, and we just went around to like kind of children's groups, and I think I played a coyote maybe, and it was an equity theater, so that's how I got my equity card.
Yeah, not bad, not bad. That's just the way it happens sometimes. You play
Yeah.
a coyote in a traveling show, and
Yeah.
Next question, also probably from this time when you were still auditioning regularly. Do you have an audition horror story that you could share with us?
Wow. Yeah, many, but let's see. I remember one. I never went up for musicals. I wasn't trained as a triple threat kind of. Never did the high school musicals. I didn't really think of myself as a singer or definitely not a dancer. But I did like to go out to discos. I used to be. I was right there at Studio 54 during its heyday. Not as a celebrity, as a waiter. I mean, I was basically. I mean, I wasn't waiting tables at 54, but I was working as a waiter, and I would get into 54 somehow, and dance the night away, and I was and other discos too. I was really into going out and dancing, and sort of on the tail end of disco, there was a show on Broadway that was going to be mounted called Got to Go Disco. And so my agent said, I know you don't go up, I know you're not a musical guy. I know you're not going up for musicals, but this is so much kind of like you. It's about this young guy who, wants to go out and clubbing, basically. And so I think you should go in on it. And I didn't understand that in order to audition for a musical that you had to get a pianist or had to like learn the song. I just got the record and sang along with it. And then they wanted me to sing a disco song. So there was a disco song at the time called I Love the Nightlife by an artist named Alicia Bridges. And I just got the record and sang along with it. And it sounded okay to me because I was singing an octave down from Alicia Bridges. But apparently the sheet music was, I don't know, in a way higher key. So this is maybe getting a little too technical, but
No.
for the singers
Sounds
out
like you were
there,
caught off guard.
you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And there was a great store on I think it was about 49th and Broadway called Colony Records, and I think it was Colony Records. Anyway, that was the only place you could find sheet music. In New York, that was the spot where all the Broadway show people went to get sheet music. So I found the sheet music for Alicia Bridges, and I took it in, and the piano player started to play it, and it was way out of my key and my range, and I just kind of fell apart, and my knees buckled, and I said, I'm sorry, I've made a terrible mistake, and I walked out.
I imagine that you were caught by surprise, to say the least.
It was not good.
Yeah. Now, just a couple more questions for you. What is one screen performance that every actor should see, and why? Was there anything especially formative for you?
Well, let me preface this by saying that I think actors. Well, for me, I'm not talking. I'm obviously not, an expert on everything, but I've found for myself that it's more valuable to me to watch documentaries than it is to watch other actors' performances. I love to watch other actors' performances because they are great, and I'm watching them as a consumer of film and of entertainment. But I don't watch them because I'm going to learn how to act.
Right.
I find that documentaries are actually way more helpful in terms of that, because you're looking at real people, and you're looking at real people in real situations.
Interesting.
Reality TV, not so much, but not to be too trendy, but Tiger King to me was great, because I said to my wife, she said, why do you watch this? And I said, well, because these are all guys that I would be asked to play. You know what I mean? And so to sort of think about that is helpful to me. That being said, I'm going to give you two. When I was probably about 15, I was living in Philly, where I grew up, and there was a local theater that had a double bill of. There was a second run theater. They would a movie theater. They would have second run movies and put them on different bills, and they were only like an hour, like $1. It was like $1 to get in. And it was two movies, The Graduate and Midnight Cowboy, both with Dustin.
Wow, yeah. Back to back.
Back to back. And I looked at that and I went, holy shit, that's the same guy. Like, that guy, I thought that was just some homeless guy that they found. But that's actually an actor. Or I thought that was just some preppy kid that they found. But that's the same guy. To me, that was very, very formative, because I went from like thinking that being an actor was like, I don't know, like being on the Monkees or something like that.
Right.
To going, oh, it's actually about inhabiting different people's essence. Yeah.
I mean, he's one of the greats, to say the least, and a great pair of films, certainly. And just for the record, sorry, here we go. Just for the record, you name dropped the Tiger King. I know that they're making a narrative miniseries of it. You should put yourself in the running to play one of those characters.
Yeah.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see.
Now, as a final question for you, we have a lot of audience questions coming in about just early career advice, how to build your network as an actor when you're first hitting the pavement auditioning. Just kind of in line with that, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
I would say that, well, I mean, it is a little different than starting out now, than it was when I was, younger. I think there's probably different paths that people take that I'm kind of out of touch with. For instance, social media is it being one of them. I don't even know how you would use social media to become an actor, but I'm sure there's some way to do it
Mm-hmm.
that I wouldn't be aware of. But I guess what I would say is that if I could give my younger self advice, it would be to take some advice, because I was incredibly, cocky, and I didn't really think that anybody had any kind of good advice to offer me. I would pretend that I wanted it from an agent, from an acting teacher, from an older actor. But the truth is, I sort of thought that I was a know-it-all. And I think I was a know-it-all about career and a know-it-all about my work and a lot of stuff. And the older I've gotten, the more I know there is to learn. And also a lot of the, suggestions and the technique and stuff like that I was taught when I was younger, that I kind of poo-pooed in a way, have started to sort of come back on me. And I go, yeah, I remember that teacher saying that, or that guy telling me that piece of advice. And it really makes more sense now. I think, I guess when people say to me, what do you think about, what's the best way? People say, I'm thinking about being an actor. What should I do? And what I usually say is, drop the hell out. Because if you're thinking about it, then you're probably not the right person to do it. You gotta be, it's gotta be your whole focus. There's too much competition. You can't be in a situation where somebody said you were, kind of cute in the school play, or, you look good in a photograph or whatever, and you think you're going to try it for a while. So what I tell people when they think they're want to explore a career in acting is, I say, don't do it. And the person that can then say, you know what, Kevin Bacon told me don't do it, and I told him to go to hell. That's the person that should try to explore this career.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to, it's a lifetime of rejection. It's a lifetime of no. You don't get the part, you don't get the good review, you don't get the box office success, you don't get, all these things that you don't get far outweigh the little things that you sometimes get. And I know that's maybe easy to say from where I'm sitting, but I have felt that, and my wife has felt that. It's you have to have a very, very thick skin, and you have to be ready for that, because there's going to be some heartbreak along the way.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, you don't get to where you are in your career without pushing through those periods of rejection. And you got to find value in yourself and the craft, and the external factors, I feel like, can just serve as distractions sometimes.
Right.
Awesome. Well, Kevin, that's all I have for you today. I'm glad to see you're in good health.
Thank you.
Hold your family tight. And thanks
Thank
for
you.
joining us. It really means a lot.
It was a pleasure.
Yes, yeah. Looking forward to seeing you back at work soon.
All right. Thanks,
We'll
man.
catch you next time. All right.
Okay.
Thanks,
Peace.
everyone, for tuning in. Bye-bye.
All right.